Being an open world game, Hyrule within Breath of the Wild is the largest and most diverse to date. Whether you're trekking up Death Mountain or foraging through the jungle of Faron, there are a multitude of areas to see. Chances are that if you've clicked on this video, then you're likely familiar with a good amount of these said locations, although some key places are not as commonly talked about as others. Whether they are hidden away, have an interesting past, or are just not as discussed as much as they should be, here are 5 secret quote-unquote locations that you may not have found in Breath of the Wild. Situated directly southwest of Hyrule Castle and adjacent to the central tower, centered in a small lake right below Mount Daphnis, lies an ancient tree stump. At first glance, the stump seems of little importance apart from the great flame blade residing in its centre and a pile of garbage around that. However, there is a smidge more to be found here. To start, above the lake and just before a wooden bridge is the wreckage of a small cottage. Its location indicates that it was some sort of outpost, but more on that later. This is our first hint that this area used to be inhabited. A casual observer might just stop here and, be on their way, but we will do no such thing. At the lake's north is another ruined home. This time it seems to be like a full-on house, not just a cottage, indicated by its size and the fact that there are remains of what appears to be a bookshelf and a bed here. The outpost that we spoke of earlier would have been at the top of the hill as to have the high ground and be able to warn the village of incoming attacks. Now finally, on a good day, when the water is clear, you can see the remains of submerged houses underneath the water. Now piecing all this together, it is easy to see that this lake used to be a valley with a town residing at the bottom surrounded by the tree stump. Now speaking of the stump, it's entirely possible, in fact it's actually quite likely, seeing as what stumps are, that this stump once belonged to a giant tree, stretching up protecting the valley with its branches. Now while I don't think that this is actually a past Deku tree, it could be a nod to the great Deku trees of other games. Another idea that I got from a YouTube comment I'll put up here is that the tree is a reference to the entrance of the first dungeon from the Legend of Zelda, the original. Just something to think about. Overall, the ancient tree stump is a secret location because 1. I didn't find it until over 100 hours into the game, and 2. Even when I did find it, I didn't notice the ruins until my 3rd, or even 4th visit. Up next is the hot springs of Death Mountain. While the springs aren't necessarily a secret area per se, they are a pretty cool inclusion in the game. The sheer amount of magma beneath Death Mountain has heated up the pools around the volcano, giving Link the equivalent of a natural spa, all for free. When the stress of saving Hyrule or hunting too many Koroks gets too overwhelming, you can always retreat back to the springs, restore your hearts, and chill. That is until, of course, you run into a freaking Guardian. I mean, come on, Nintendo! Whose idea was it to put a Guardian near the hot springs? The 3rd location on the list is here purely on entertainment purposes. It's not some forgotten temple or a hidden grove amongst the depths of a jungle. It's simply a giant pile of garbage. Now this garbage surrounds the Ishto-So shrine, and if we follow the trail of garbage, it leads to Moza, who is an, shall we say, interesting individual. She seems to think that she's a fantastic cook, and cannot understand why everything that she makes turns into dubious food. It quickly becomes apparent that the less than desirable dishes are created because of her putting in all ancient parts and even monster parts, I should say. First of all, she's obviously crazy. I mean, just look at this. What is she even doing? Is she trying to hit it? I'm not even sure. And secondly, it is implied that all the garbage is, in fact, the leftovers of Mozo's cooking. I don't know about you, but small things like this that are just utterly ridiculous and Nintendo did not need to put in here, but they did, are a large part of what makes Breath of the Wild just so good. When setting out to make this video, I knew that I wanted to include the Leviathan skeletons. However, when thinking about it, I realised that most Zelda fans probably know of the skeletons found in both Eldin and Gerudo. What they might not know of, and my personal favourite, is the skeleton found in the Hebra mountain range. Unlike the other two, this skeleton is not in plain sight. It is hidden away within the mountain itself, housed inside one of the very few caves in Breath of the Wild. The Tokomo Shrine is also in the cave. Now, the reason why the skeleton is a secret location is because it is hidden in the depths of the biggest mountain range in the game, and inside a likewise secret cave only opened by rolling a boulder to knock open the entrance. It's also just pretty awesome. This video started with us talking about a tree. Let's end it with a tree too. The final location we're discussing about today is a small, seemingly unremarkable island just to the western side of the Korok Forest. At first glance, there really isn't anything special about this island at all. It's got a tree in the middle, which is neat, and there's some choo-choos just bobbling around the place, but that's about it. But hang on, what's the island called? I'll answer it for you. It's called Makar Island. Makar? Makar, as in the little Korok wind sage thing from Wind Waker. Now, if Link climbs up the tree, the wind intensity surrounding the top of the tree increases in velocity a lot. It's easy to see that this is a clear nod to Makar, not only in name, but also in the fact that he's a wind sage, and it's wind. Now, onto another note, I mentioned that there were choo-choos chilling on the island earlier. Well, they aren't the only monsters here. At night, a whole bunch of Stow enemies come rising up out of the ground, and proceed to try and pulverize me. As to why Nintendo decided to put the monsters here, I have no idea. But the cool Makar Easter egg, and the ridiculous amount of monsters in this seemingly unimportant island, is more than enough for it to land a spot on this list. That's it from me today. I just want to thank you all for the recent support my channel has been getting. You guys really liked that Skyward Sword video I did. Now, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We're not far off 300 subscribers, so let's make it happen. Let me know what your favourite secret area within Breath of the Wild is down in the comments below. Also, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Twitter's though where I post most stuff about my channel, so that's probably where you want to go. Anyway, I'll quit my jabbering now. I've been TheAussieViking. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a marvellous day.